What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Batman Detective Comics, issue number 1064. This one is written by Ram V with art by Raphael Albuquerque. Then there's also a backup, which is the conclusion to that weird Jim Gordon storyline. And even the conclusion of it doesn't really make too much sense. It feels like it just kind of got cut in half or something like that. It's kind of strange, but let's go ahead and talk about the main thing, and then I'll briefly talk about the backup storyline, which at this point, to save some money, can we just get rid of the backup storylines in Batman and Detective Comics? I don't think they're all that necessary. You could save $1 and the rest of the story would be fine. I don't think most of them are all that necessary because most of them have just not been up to par. They don't seem to connect too much to the main storyline. Unless you're setting up like another book or something, then like what's the purpose of a lot of these backups? They just feel like filler, if I'm being honest. So yeah, but anyways, so this is the continuation of the Shakespearean Gothic opera, mythological, whatever you want to call it. Ram V is doing something a little bit different with Batman this time around. Like it's more Shakespearean, just the way it's kind of done, and you have these myths and legends, and the opening of the issue has Talia talking with the young Damian a long time ago, back in the days when they're training together. Damian asks about the legend of somebody named Farhad, and it goes into this story about this guy who was like really badass and stuff, and he had a long lost love. It's got connections to like the gods and stuff, about how he had was given an impossible task, and he completed the task, but it came at the cost of his loved one. So the gods played a trick on him. They were jealous and all that other stuff. Damian even asks his mom if she thinks he can be like this guy at one point. And yeah, so just kind of left a bit on that. Then we also see Bruce, who obviously had some various injuries over the years, and a doctor's kind of talking to him. It kind of reminds me a bit of that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where he goes to visit the hospital, and he's like, "Oh, so I'm good." He's like, "He's like, no, you have all these different injuries. I couldn't recommend that you do really anything, but other than that, you're pretty healthy." So there's that. And he also thinks that Batman may be having some panic attacks, and Bruce is like, "Panic attacks? Why would I be having panic attacks?" And maybe there's something going on there. And then he decides to go and attack some guy to get some information, not in the bat suit, by the way, which still feels kind of like a nod to Dark Knight Rises in a way. After Bruce was in the hospital, then he put his mask on and went to see Gordon in the hospital, but this time he just beats the hell out of some guy to get some information. So yeah, there's that. Then he goes into the bat suit and he confronts Talia al Ghul, and the two of them have a fight. It's kind of done in, like I said, the whole Shakespearean kind of, there's something operatic about it. I know I utilize that word a lot, but that's kind of the feel for this Ram V thing. And you can see that there's kind of that romantic tension going on when they're fighting, but Batman knows that Talia is just kind of trying to keep him distracted, more so trying to keep, in her mind, she's trying to protect him from something, and that's like this whole Orkham family. So that's why her and the League of Assassins are going to attack something, which, by the way, I thought she gave up being a part of the League of Assassins, unless this is still that whole undercover thing based on what happened in the Robin book in Shadow War. I know she was working, I think, for the DEO, unless she's doing that right now, but who even knows at this point in terms of continuity with DC Comics. So yeah, Talia basically almost kind of sets a trap for Batman and kind of gets him out of the way, and so her and the League can attack the Orkham family, who's got some weird stuff kind of going on with them, and perhaps it's a connection to that whole demonic story that they were talking about there. But yeah, so that's kind of the main storyline. The backup storyline is a continuation of Jim Gordon and that whole thing with art by Danny. I didn't particularly care for this thing all that much. This guy there's like kind of some weird creature things that are kind of attacking. This guy shows up with like this back tattoo. I guess he's the Crow or something. I don't know what you want to call it. And then it just kind of ends. It doesn't really explain what was going on with everything here. Who really is this guy? Why were things possessed and all that stuff? Unless it's going to connect to like another storyline, then I really don't know. In fact, I feel like this backup is just kind of filler. It felt like it never really went anywhere. You could have probably done so much more with it, or perhaps just, done a different story. Wasn't a huge fan of it. Wasn't a huge fan of the art style. I know I've talked about like Danny's art style in Arkham City Order of the World. I think it works in some stories. It's not really my favorite art style. I don't really like it all that much compared to other things. But I think it worked for Arkham City Order of the World for that kind of style that they were going for, but for other things it just doesn't really work for me. The main storyline, it is a pretty interesting story. I think it's starting to pick up a little bit more. I like the confrontation between Bruce and Talia and kind of how their fight goes on. You can see it's almost like a dance of sorts between two kind of former lovers here, and I feel like she kind of like sees Bruce as the guy in the story she was talking about, and how there is a love there, but it's just not going to work out, kind of. There's always something kind of keeping them apart and such. So it was an interesting take, and it was nice to see kind of a flashback between her and Damien, kind of setting the stage and kind of building out the mythos of the story a little bit. Not an amazing story by any means, but I kind of like it how it feels a little bit different than what's been really going on in Batman for a while. It's something a little bit unique. It's not like a true like detective-driven story. I mean, there's detective aspects to it, but it feels different, more operatic. There I go again with that word. Art by Raphael Albuquerque is pretty good. As you can see, like, everyone kind of fits this art style. For the story they're going with, I think the art style matches pretty well. So, yeah, I think I don't really have too much else to say. I also really love this cover here. Look at that demonic thing going on there. So, pretty cool stuff. Backup, didn't really care for it. Don't think it was all that necessary. I'm going to completely forget about it in a day or so. But the main story, it has me intrigued. It definitely has me intrigued. I kind of like the direction they're going with it right now, and I want to see how this whole Orcam family kind of fits into things. So maybe it'll make more sense in the next issue, and then as things play out a little bit, it'll get even stronger, and maybe I'll go back and read the other issues and see how it all kind of ties together. So there's that. All right, well, those are my brief thoughts on Batman Detective Comics issue number 1064. I like some aspects to it. I thought there was a pretty solid issue, all things considered, outside of the backup. But if you have any thoughts on it, let me know in the comment section down below. Otherwise, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, all that other fun stuff. I got one more comic book review coming out, and then yeah, I think that should be it in terms of comic book reviews before this week, and I'll have all sorts of other videos coming out, but look forward to that. All right, that's all I gotta say. As always, take care now, bye bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.